I'm MJ Marfori from TV5 News, Manila. Dewanda, my first question is, how did you remain so glowing in all the scenes up until the very end?
Sunscreen. My secret is sunscreen.
Okay, I
I
love
make
that.
sure to spray it. I wish I could be like, I was well hydrated and I used Fenty.
Uh,
No, it was sunscreen.
oh my gosh, your skin was impeccable. I was just glued to it on screen the whole time yet while you were doing all the action scenes. And speaking about that, what preparations did you do for the role, especially that you were a pilot in it?
Yeah, it was like a combination of, like nerdy actor research and just like looking up what it meant. Honestly, part of like something I haven't actually talked about a lot was what it means to be a woman in the military. You know what I mean? And how tough you end up being and you have to be to like make it through training program and like actually serve. So that was a good portion of it. And I wanted to make sure that she felt like a woman who had gone through basic training, you know? So yeah, so that was super important to me. And, I also just didn't want to get to work and be winded. So I made sure I made sure that I could, at least try to pretend to keep up with Chris Pratt.
Oh my gosh, you were all over. And speaking of the training, what trainings did you do?
I weightlifted for about a year out, and then to make sure that you could actually see the muscles. It's very traditional, very nerdy, very boring, very like you can look at bodybuilder 101. Like I started running about 4 months out. So then I'm like eating, building muscle, 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 and then like
Focus
shredding it down
bulking
so that
up
you could
and then
see it.
shred.
hmm
All right. Wow, it really worked. I'm sure you're going to be the Fitspo when this comes out. And besides this, how was it working with Chris and the rest and
A
the
dream.
OGs?
Yeah, it was an absolute dream. I mean, it's an exceptionally generous cast. Chris Pratt makes sure everyone looked good and also that no one pulled a hamstring. So he had a way of looking out for all of us, not only in terms of our performance to make sure that we were like physiologically ready, to pretend to be like, I'm afraid of being eaten by dinosaurs. But also, just he's a true leader on set. And everyone kind of had that same all hands on deck, looking out for each other, making sure we were ready, that everyone was kind of like, everyone had their hero moments. Everyone knew when to give and take space, which
Wow.
is not an experience that you often have when there's so many stars
Hmm.
involved.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, nine of you as the lead, right?
Yeah.
But it all blended well so perfectly. And for my last question, there are some reflections at the end of the film about all the lessons being learned. Did you learn while doing it? Can you share some reflections?
I think it was always the theme of the franchise was just it's one of the only things, I didn't see the movie until I was or the original movies I should say until I was offered the role. But when it comes to being an environmentalist, with being mindful that we only have this one earth right now, until we can inhabit Mars, this is it, and that kind of human responsibility of what it means to be a steward of this planet was always very, near and dear to my heart. I was the kid who would come home with a bird to resuscitate, in Baltimore City, and my mom's like, "What are you doing? Please stop trying to bring diseases home." So it's it's always been, kind of innate, and so it's a big deal that I'm a part of this franchise. I'm very thankful.
Wow, that's why you're perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dewanda. Hi, Mamoudou. I'm MJ Marfori from the Philippines, and I just want to congratulate you for what the thrilling movie that is yet to be seen by the rest. But can you please tell me first a little bit of, you know, what it was like shooting with these amazing people like you?
Well, first, hi. Very nice to meet you as well. Yeah, it was great. I mean, like, I feel like I keep on, these poor people in the room with me. Like, I just keep on saying how wonderful it is to even be working with them in this press junket right now. It's awesome. I felt like I got very close to them and we shared a truly remarkable experience, especially considering we were living together and eating together and just sharing so much with each other. Yeah, it was an incredible, unforgettable experience. It's great.
How did you? Can you give us well, a backstory on the setting, on how you shot some scenes, what was the most challenging part about shooting with dinosaurs, and maybe the technology that has been used?
Um, you know, the I gotta highlight the animatronic puppetry in this movie
Mhm.
because it is truly second to none, and just you have to see it. Like you have to see it in person. I mean, you see it in the movie, and it's as lifelike as it gets, but in person, it's just the craftsmanship and the technological marvel of engineering to make all those things happen in one, and to be so alive. Man, I just take my hat off to those guys who created such a wonderful, yeah, unbelievable.
Where when you were young, were you really a fan of dinosaurs? What kind of research did you do for this?
Well, I watched the Jurassic movie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a fan. I was a big fan when I was growing up. Yeah, my favorite was the Triceratops, as Danielle well
Mhm.
knows. Uh, and I don't know. I'd go to the museums a lot in DC. I grew up in the DC area, and
Mhm.
yeah, I just remember my parents, family, friends, uncles taking me over there, and yeah, I was just obsessed with just like seeing like how could this possibly have existed at this, on the same planet as we did. So yeah, big fan.
Each installment of Jurassic, the casting is just becoming amazing and amazing and more diverse, right? So, how do you feel
Mhm.
about that, being part of this?
Being a part of this incredible franchise is great. Yeah, it's awesome, and yeah, obviously, I'm always a fan of inclusivity and seeing everybody represented in, especially a huge movie like this where it's being shared around the world. So, yeah, it's I think it's great.
We have a big role in, of course, the world, right? The universe where we're in, and there's a subcontext in Jurassic about taking care of what we already have.
Uh,
What can you say about that?
can you rephrase the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what are the lessons that you learned while filming Jurassic, especially that it has subcontext about, loving the environment,
Uh
taking
huh.
care of it, coexisting?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on board for every single one of those like sentiments, and I think it's the only way to move forward progressively. I think it's it is the only way that we can continue to coexist in this world. So yeah, I'm glad that those are huge messages in the movie, and I'm glad you picked that up as well.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Colin. I'm MJ Marfori from TV5 News Manila. I just want to congratulate you on the thrilling film.
Thank you.
But I just want to ask, how did you strike a balance in welcoming the OGs and blending them in so well with the new cast? Or they're not really new, but Chris and Bryce and the rest.
Yeah, well, in a lot of ways, I felt like I had three different kinds of casts to
Mhm.
serve. I had our legacy characters. I had Chris and Bryce, who've now been in two movies, and this is their third. And then I had Dewanda and Mamoudou and Dishan
Yes.
and new actors who I think are equally iconic. And I wanted to make sure all of them, ultimately nine with BD Wong, were served and respected and balanced throughout the whole film. It was a massive challenge, a lot of help from my co-writer Emily Carmichael, and then specifically from the actors themselves, who were so focused on making sure that each of them had a beginning, middle, and an end to their story.
Each film, the animation, or what technical term do you call it, is just, it keeps getting better and better. So can you tell us more about how this improved in this franchise?
Well, our animators and digital artists at ILM are extraordinary, but in this film, we also have more animatronics than we've ever used by a huge
Animatron.
margin. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times when you see a dinosaur, they were really there. When Laura Dern is interacting with that baby Nasutoceratops, the entire thing was there in front of her. She couldn't even see the puppeteer. And so it really felt like she was interacting with something real because she was.
Well, going back to the nine of them, how did you feel when they were all together for the first time in the scene that you were directing?
Well, that moment when all of them are together doesn't happen until the very, very end, including BD and Dewanda and
Uh-huh.
everyone and Mamoudou. So that was like maybe the second or third last night of production when that finally happened. And so it really had a sense of, I was almost like the audience where I had that moment of satisfaction of seeing them all together. And I was like, oh, hey, this might work.
It will work. It looks like it will. And with this, it looks like this is set up for a new generation. So are we seeing more installments in the future?
I wanted to create a world where that was possible, and a new sandbox where some boy or girl right now who's playing with dinosaur toys might be able to step into in the same way that I, was given the opportunity to step into it and inject it with a whole new level of imagination. So I'm just looking to spark somebody's imagination out there.
Why is this so important? Because upon reviewing the film, there were a lot of lessons to be learned in this story. Why is it so important for the kids to experience this as well?
Well, we don't consider ourselves out here to teach lessons to anyone, but we can present ideas and ask questions. And in this one, we ask a question of, what is our responsibility as we now must both coexist with each other and other living creatures on planet Earth. How are we going to survive here together? What do we need to do to make sure that we don't go extinct just like the dinosaurs did? And it's up to the next generation to find the answers to those questions, but we can ask them.
I asked a lot of questions, and thank you for answering everything. Thank you so much, Colin. Thank you for your time.
Take care.